Rarely does a team sitting 14th in the Premier League table get as much attention as Tottenham Hotspur have received this season, and rightly so. They have been a focal point of attention. Should Ange go? Should he stay? Are they underachieving? What's going on with Spurs? Well, I can tell you what's going on with Spurs. Stuff we have never seen before in the history of the Premier League. Whether you think Ange should stay or go, or you have opinions on what they should be doing, one thing is for certain: they are having a season unlike anything we have ever seen in the history of the Premier League. I'm going to talk about why that is next, here on Pints and Punditry at the Pitchside Pub. Should Ange stay? Should Ange go? Are they overperforming? Probably not. Are they underperforming? Almost certainly. But by how much and whose fault? There are lots of answers to these questions. I'm not even going to get into most of them today. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is we are seeing a season unlike anything we've ever seen, not just in Tottenham history, but in Premier League history, because of how Tottenham have gotten to the point where they are at. So we're going to talk about why that is. It has a lot to do with goal differential, and we're going to get into it in a second. But before we do, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me down below so you can follow the channel. Get down in the comment section. What do you make of this, and what do you think is to blame for it, and what should be done? Get in that comment section. Let me know your thoughts. You can also leave some comments on Blue Sky at Pitchside Pub, and check out the website, pitchsidepub.com. All right, so here's where it stands right now. 24 match weeks into the season, Tottenham Hotspur is sitting in 14th place, and they have a plus 11 goal differential. That alone, that stat right there, makes this unlike any other Premier League season that has ever taken place for any club. If the season ended right now, that would be the lowest any club has ever finished with such a high positive goal differential. It's never happened before. We are in uncharted waters in terms of the type of season that Tottenham have had. If you have a plus 11 goal differential, it has historically guaranteed you a top 10 finish at the very least, if not higher. Over the past 10 years in the Premier League, dating back to the 14-15 season, we have never had a positive goal differential club finish lower than 12th, and that was Crystal Palace in 21-22, who had a plus 4 goal differential. You can look and see Newcastle 7th, Fulham 10th, Crystal Palace 12th, Aston Villa 11th, Sheffield 9th, Leicester City 9th, Arsenal 6th, Everton 7th, Everton again 11th, and Stoke City 9th. That's the lowest that any club has finished with a positive goal differential over the past decade. A positive goal differential. Even a 0 or a plus 1 goal differential, just anything that's not negative, has guaranteed you 12th or above. So that alone means finishing 14th would put Tottenham in uncharted waters. But it gets even more rare. Double-digit goal differential has guaranteed at least a top 10 finish over the past 10 years. Look at this. 7th, 9th, 5th, 8th, 7th, 6th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 7th over the past 10 years. If you get a double-digit goal differential in the positive, you guarantee yourself a top 10 finish. And yet Tottenham is sitting in 14th, and it took a win last weekend to get them up to that. So we are in truly uncharted waters. In fact, there are only 3 cases of even similar type seasons. In the 09-10 season, Everton finished 8th with a plus 11 goal differential. The closest season was Everton in the 99-2000 season, where they finished 13th with a plus 10 goal differential. And in 97-98, Leicester City finished 10th with a plus 10 goal differential. Those are the only even remotely similar seasons, and Tottenham is even more extreme. They would finish lower and with a more positive goal differential than even that Everton season that was close. So what we are seeing from Tottenham is almost impossible to do. So how do they do that? Well, the only way to finish so poorly in the table with such a positive goal differential is to win a bunch of blowout games and then lose a bunch of close games. And that is exactly what Tottenham have done. You got to look at their results. Tottenham has 8 wins on the season. 6 of those wins have come by 3 goals or more. But they have 13 losses on the season, and 12 of those have come by only 1 goal. Their only loss of the season that was by more than 1 goal came back in December in a 6-3 blowout by Liverpool, and Liverpool's winning the league. So they have lost a lot of close games, and they have blown out a number of opponents in their wins. Of course, the losses outweigh the wins, and that's why they're down in the table, but that's how they've managed to have this lopsided goal differential on the season, yet still be in 14th place. Now, we could debate endlessly how this has happened. And it is probably, if we're being realistic and not being a panicky, irrational fan base, and I'm a neutral, so I don't have to be panicky and irrational when it comes to Tottenham. I'm watching this from afar, with the popcorn, because it's if nothing, it's entertaining, and we're potentially watching history here. But if we try to be rational about this, we have to admit that it's a combination of things, right? So the instinct is to blame Ange and his style and the fact that they have lost from positions where they've led on a number of occasions, and that he never changes even with a lead to play a little more defensively, and that's how you end up losing a game where you are drawing, or drawing a game where you are winning. And there is definitely some truth to that. Ange, for all of his positive and negative qualities, he is a stubborn man who has insisted that he will play his way, and you cannot deny that it has cost them points this season. Now, has it also earned them some points in some instances? Yes, probably. But it has definitely cost them points on certain occasions. So Ange is to blame there when you have enough one-goal losses and you have a manager who refuses to adjust his style, and that style is to be ridiculously attacking and play at a ridiculously high line, and especially when you don't have the personnel for it. Yes, obviously some blame has to go on Ange for that. I'm not saying fire him. I'm just saying he is responsible for some of that blame. There also has to be some luck factor, right? You can't lose that many one-goal games and not have a little bit of bad luck. Shots that don't go in, high probability shots that just miss, a great save, a great block, situations where you should have scored more, you did enough to win the game, you deserve to win the game, as commentators like to say, and you just didn't. You got a draw instead of a win, or you got a loss instead of a draw. So there is some luck there, and that has definitely happened to Tottenham this year as well. Not to mention the injuries, which, again, we can talk about how much of the injuries is bad luck, how much of the injuries is what Ange puts them through in training, and all of the high-intensity runs that defenders have to make in games because of his playing style. But again, luck has to be part of a factor there. But you can't get to 14th in the table with a plus 11 goal differential without a little bit of bad luck and also some poor strategy, and without losing all of those one-loss games while then going off and blowing out your opponent. What makes this so rare is that you don't see teams who can do both of those things very often. How often do we see teams that can blow a team out 4-0, 4-1, 3-0, and then lose a bunch of one-goal games? Those types of teams tend to be built a little differently from one another. So this is truly a unique team, which I think we knew, but this helps explain why and quantify exactly how they are unique. Ange is a unique manager. That's part of what has brought this together. It's a young team, so they are prone to mistakes, which lead to goals in positions where they shouldn't give them up. And it's really just a fascinating, unique experience for a neutral watching from afar. But what I'm going to be watching for the rest of the season is to see just how historic this ends up being. Are they able to get a few more wins and climb up to a more respectable spot in the table, as their goal differential would suggest they should be? If you look at the goal differential and you look at the Premier League table right now, they should be around 7th, 8th, 9th place, somewhere in that range. In fact, ironically enough, if you look at last year's Premier League table, they had the lowest positive goal differential in the league at 13, which is very similar to their 11 this year, and that had them in 5th place. So you can see where they ought to be with a plus 11 goal differential. Probably not 5th, but probably somewhere in that 7 to 10 range is more realistic. Or is the plus 11 goal differential misleading because they blew out some teams that really were not as strong a caliber, and they were able to pad their stats, if you will, with those big wins, and that the one-loss games are really more indicative of the type of team they are? So which do we think is going to happen the remainder of the season? Will the goal differential come back to match the spot in the table, or will the spot in the table rise up to match the goal differential? I'd love to get your thoughts on that. Get down in that comment section. Let me know what you think. Why is this the situation that has come from Tottenham? What is the cause of this disparity between the spot in the table and the goal differential? And where do you think it ends up the remainder of the season? Get down in that comment section. Let me know what you think. You can also leave some comments on Blue Sky at Pitchside Pub. While you're at it, hit that subscribe button for me down below so you can follow the channel, and check out the website, pitchsidepub.com. Thanks as always for joining us here on Pints and Punditry at the Pitchside Pub.